Of Christmases Long, Long Ago is my new book arriving for the 2025 Christmas season. Find out what Christmas was like centuries ago. Sneak preview, it was weird and spooky and rowdy, kind of gross sometimes. Find it wherever books are sold in hardcover from Lions Press and audiobook from Recorded Books. It's Christmas as you've never seen it before, and it makes a great gift. Hey, it's Brian, back with another Burr Months bonus episode. I mentioned before that these Burr Months bonuses were originally meant to be a way to warm us up and tide us over as we awaited the official episodes for the 2019 season. But I realized a couple of things. First, you guys really seem to like these episodes. I've gotten so much encouraging feedback from so many of you. And second, we're still in the Burr Months, and we're going to be all the way up till the end of December. So keep a lookout for these Burr Months bonuses to be sprinkled in among the season's core content. You'll recognize them in your podcast feed because their titles will always begin with Burr Months bonus. You can look forward to more things like readings of classic Christmas stories, new music showcases, roundtable discussions, interviews, and anything else I think will make your season merry and bright. These Burr Months bonuses are also where you'll hear me giving updates and announcements like these ones here. There's just over 2 weeks left to get your tickets to Christmasland in Los Angeles on December 15th. It's an immersive Christmas movie experience, with appearances from Nikki DeLoach, the boys from Deck the Hallmark, Alonso Duralde, and others. It's a one-of-a-kind event, and I'll be there too. I'd love to see you. So go to christmaslandexperience.com for details. Also, it's still more than half a year away until July, but the wheels are in motion for the Christmas in July convention from Silver Screen Events. Come to Nashville on July 24th through the 26th for parties, activities, celebrity sightings, and much more, including me. Details are still emerging, so go to silverscreenevents.com for all the latest and follow them on social media. You can also check back here for updates throughout the season. And finally, thanks to everyone who's left a review recently on Apple Podcasts. Those reviews help make the show more visible to people looking for Christmas content, so leaving a review is kind of like spreading Christmas cheer. And I'll even send you a sticker to say thanks. Write me at christmaspastpodcast@gmail.com for details, or reach out on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Now, on to the episode. Barbara Hinske is living the dream. She's an attorney, but she recently made a career change to full-time novelist. Her Rosemont series has earned a devoted readership, and in 2016 she published the novella The Christmas Club. It's a story set in the 1950s following a woman who loses her Christmas savings but ends up gaining much more than she could have expected. This season, the Hallmark Channel adapted her story for a movie starring Elizabeth Mitchell and Cameron Matheson. The movie premieres on December 3rd, and that's tomorrow if you're listening in real time. I caught up with Barbara to discuss writing, Christmas stories, Hallmark, and a lot more. I'll come back at the end to say goodbye. But for now, I hope you enjoy my conversation with Barbara Hinske. So Barbara, I'd like to start by asking you to give an overview of the Christmas Club.
Sure. So the Christmas Club is set in 1952 in Cleveland, Ohio. Back in the day when people had Christmas Club accounts at the bank, which I realize everybody doesn't know what a Christmas Club account is, and we can talk about that later. But Verna Lind comes out of the bank with her hard-earned Christmas Club money. She's got 6 $5 bills, which in 1952 was quite a bit of money. She'd saved it all year long. She slips on the ice when she gets out of the bank, and her pocketbook falls and springs open, and her 6 $5 bills blow to the wind. A young man and a young woman who don't know each other, two strangers, see her fall, help her up, get her back into the bank, and find out what she's lost, and because she's very distressed. And so the young man says, well, I'll go out and look for your money. And he and the woman leave the bank. Well, of course, the money's long gone. It's blown to the wind. But he pulls out his wallet and he says, well, I have 5 $5 bills here. I'll give her those and tell her I found them. And the woman pulls out her purse and says, well, I have 1 $5. So they pull their money and go back in and give it to her. She's grateful to them, very grateful, thinking they found my money, but not because, they've seen me as this poor old lady who's lost her money, will take pity on her. And meanwhile, those six $5 bills have blown to the wind and have all been found by 6 different people who go forward and do kind things with the money. And the stranger, the man and the woman, there's a spark there, but, it's just a casual encounter, and they're busy on their lunch hour, and they don't get each other's names and numbers. But there was a spark, and as the book goes on, they see each other from a distance, and Christmas Eve then happens, and I guess I don't want to give anything away, so I'll leave it at that.
Okay. And you mentioned the notion of Christmas clubs, which are actually sounds like an extension of an older tradition known as the Goose Club in Victorian London, where people would pool their resources to be able to buy a Christmas dinner for themselves. This is something that goes back, has quite a long history. What inspired you to write the book? Was it a piece of history, or was it something like that?
I heard a homily in a sermon at my church like 35 years ago, and it stuck with me all these years later. The point of this story was to do kind things for people, but do them in a nice way. You don't always need the big old pat on the back for doing something nice. You don't need to be recognized. And that hits home for me because I'm like most of us. If I do something nice, I kind of want somebody to give me the big old thank you. Well, you know what? That isn't always nice on my part. Sometimes it costs people to give the big old thank you. And so are you really being generous if you are doing it because you want to be loved up and fluffed up? I don't think so. So that little crumb of a story stuck with me all these years. And I came to write the story because I was at that time part of a women's fiction writers group, and we were all going to write a novella and contribute it to an anthology. As it turns out, I was the only one who actually got the novella written, so I just published it on my own. But when I was thinking about that, I was like, well, what would I write about? So I took that little crumb of a story, which had to do with someone who lost money, but not Christmas Club money, and it wasn't 1952. And then there wasn't love stories and pay it forward with the $5 bills. In the sermon, I added all that stuff around it. But that was the crumb of an idea.
And when readers read the story, are you hoping that you're taking away that message of generosity without the expectation of reciprocity?
Yes, absolutely. And from my reviews on Amazon and in my Facebook, I've got a big Facebook platform. That's exactly what people are doing. The idea is generosity without reciprocity, and also the idea that generosity doesn't have to be the big splashy $1,000 gift, $500 gift. You can do something kind for somebody with $5, with no money. And we all need a little bit of encouragement and something nice. If you can touch someone, even in a small way, you can change their day. I believe if you can change their day, you can change their life. And if we change lives, we change the world and make it better. So I know that maybe sounds a little grand and a little silly, this one little Christmas novella, but I really do believe in the whole theory of pay it forward, random acts of kindness, generosity, and connection at the grassroots between real human beings.
And it seems like we're all a little more inclined to do that around Christmas time. But of course, generosity doesn't really have a season for which it's most valuable. It's the kind of thing that people can and should do all year round.
Absolutely.
Now, you used to be a full-time lawyer and made the transition to full-time novelist. Can you tell me how that came about?
Well, I published my first book in 2012, and I was still practicing law full-time and managed to turn out a book a year, which is a pretty, plus some novellas. So that's a pretty robust writing habit when you've got a full-time practice of law. When I sold this script to the Hallmark Channel, I decided that I really needed to step away. I really wanted to focus on my novel writing. But boy, I'll tell you what, it sounds easy. I had a lot of fear about it. I worked with 2 counselors for 6 months to get my mind ready to let go of that, because I loved my law job and I loved my career, and it was very comfortable and satisfying. So it sounds kind of silly to have to work with a counselor, but I did, and I'm so glad I stepped away. I've had a new project that I'm just finishing up. Last February, I had donated naming rights in my next book as a silent auction item for a local library's fundraiser. And I went to their annual gala and sat next to the development director of an organization here in Phoenix, Arizona, called the Foundation for Blind Children. And they provide services to the blind, not just children. Their youngest or their oldest child is 104. And so we were talking, and he invited me to come tour their facility, which I did the next week. And as I'm walking around, I just felt this electric charge. And I thought, you know what? I'm looking at the big old check on the wall from Major League Baseball for $1 million. And I thought, I want to have one of those checks on the wall, but I want mine to be $2 million. But guess what? I'm not rich. How am I going to do that? Well, a book can raise $2 million. So I thought, I'm going to write a book and a novel and donate half the proceeds to the Foundation for Blind Children. So the idea just came in my mind to write the love story between Garth, the guide dog, and Emily Main, his newly blind young woman handler. So I conceived of it. I did tons of research. I took white cane training myself, which they were generous enough to provide me, made inroads for me. I spent 3 days on the campus of Guide Dogs for the Blind in San Rafael, California, and decided I need to write this book now. I need to try and ride the wave of my publicity from the Christmas Club to support this book. Its name is Guiding Emily. So I quit practicing law, and I spent 2 months writing it, and there we are. So it was a real affirmation to myself that, yes, you have done the right thing. The year 2020 is, of course, next year, and as you can imagine, for all organizations that deal with blind people, they're really ramping up their fundraising, their marketing for 2020. And I thought, well, better get this book done and be part of it. So that's what I did.
What do you think makes a good Christmas story?
Oh, I think a good Christmas story obviously has to have generosity, kindness. It needs to have connections between people. It needs to have warm and cozy elements that we associate with Christmas, and just a beautiful big heart.
When it comes to a Christmas story, is the writing process different?
For me, it wasn't. I wrote the Christmas Club in 6 weeks because I thought I was on deadline to contribute to an anthology. So I just put my, seat in my chair and wrote.
It's interesting that most Christmas stories nowadays kind of come in two flavors, right? Number one is the romance, and even romances tend to come in one flavor. It's the story of how a couple came together as opposed to the story of how a couple keeps romance alive, for example. And then the other side is maybe the homecoming, right? Like someone comes home or families reunited after a long time. Like those are basically the two versions of the modern Christmas story. But it wasn't always that way, right? In the Victorian times, there were Christmas ghost stories, of course, A Christmas Carol being the most famous one of those. So things kind of change over time. And I wonder if we're witnessing another change insofar as now the Christmas story remains firmly in the romance genre, specifically the story of a couple coming together, but it told in a very particular way, the way that Hallmark and their competitors tell them, in this kind of 9-act structure, which I'm not using this in a negative sense, but they unfold in a very predictable way. And it's just interesting to think that we're perhaps witnessing in process the evolution of the Christmas story into not only a romance, but a romance told in a set way. And when you were writing this story, did you have any of those factors in mind?
No, I didn't. And so Hallmark has taken my book and with their screenplay, they set at current day and changed, made it into that 9-act structure. The book is more of a little bit more of a throwback with the love stories, many love stories and different love stories, not just between a couple, but just love between people and friends and colleagues and parents and all of that. And I have to say, I absolutely adore the script. I think it's brilliant. I think they've done a wonderful job with it, and they added some twists and turns that my lips are sealed about, but that I wish I had thought of. So I think Hallmark did a brilliant job with it.
Now, how did the story come on their radar in the first place?
After I wrote it and published it, and a whole bunch of my reviews said this would be perfect on the Hallmark Channel, and of course, any author, they're in their little beating heart, hopes that something does come to the screen, and the Hallmark Channel in particular, because it would break my heart to have my book taken and add, a bunch of violence to it or something. And no. So I wanted it to be told in a nice way. So I kept asking every single person I knew, do you know anybody at Hallmark? And I had an agent who represented me and sold my audio rights for my books to Audible. My books are traditionally published in audio format. And so I asked Sarah, and she said, my neighbor is, or someone she knew well, is John Eskinas, who is the executive producer of Good Witch. He's the executive producer of my movie. And she said, do you want me to give him a copy of it? And I'm like, yeah, please. And the rest, we say, is history.
Well, I bet it was also thrilling to be on the set. What was that like?
Oh, it was so fabulous. I've never been on a movie set, and I didn't know what to expect. I wondered if people were going to be mean and snippy to each other and diva-ishy, but of course, that wasn't it. Everyone couldn't have been more lovely to us and to each other. These people, their minimum day under their contract is 14 hours. They are in constant motion. It was hot in Winnipeg, 94, a couple of the days when we were filming, so it was uncomfortable. And sometimes they would film all night. Night scenes require darkness, and it didn't get dark there until 10 o'clock at night. So working conditions were tough. People were tired. People generally get cranky. I do when I'm tired. I never heard one crossword between anyone. It was wonderful. And I'm telling you, to sit in the Video Village and to see these beautiful actors on the screen say words that you wrote, it is an experience I'll never forget.
Is there any behind the scenes stuff that you can share with us?
Yes. I mean, it was filmed, it was 94 degrees. And so there's a beautiful Christmas carnival scene in the book where a lot of the action takes place. So I got to see that being set up. They roll out these huge sheets of fake snow, and there are people who actually sit on the ground and sew it together. The attention to detail is incredible, because this was filmed in the park of a private girls' school. And across the street, you could see, the grass berm along the sidewalk. Well, not for the Hallmark movie. They had to cover all that up. I never would have noticed that, but they noticed all of that detail. There's an entire group that's the greens department, and they had, I want to say, 60 real Christmas trees. And people that, if they set a scene one place and then moved it to another, there was a greens crew who grabbed Christmas trees and hauled them over to the next location. It's kind of like what I've never actually seen the circus being set up and torn down, but you always read about how efficient that was. I think they have nothing on Hallmark. These people, electricians, lighting people, set decorators, all on it. Everybody knew what they were supposed to do, and they did it. I just can't say enough about these people.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to my conversation with Barbara Hinske, and if you get a chance to check out that Hallmark Channel movie, keep your eyes peeled for Barbara's cameo appearance. And the next time we meet, it will be for one of our core episodes of the season. It'll include the backstory to one of your favorite Christmas traditions and, of course, your Christmas memories. There's still time to send me one this season if you'd like one included in an episode, and it's super easy. All you have to do is record a voice memo into your phone and send it to christmaspastpodcast@gmail.com. Keep it to about a minute, keep it clean and family friendly, and be sure to say your name and where you're from. Christmas Past is produced in sunny San Mateo, California by yours truly, Brian Earl. Thanks so much to Barbara Hinske, and of course, thank you for listening. If you get a chance to check out that Hallmark Channel movie, I'd love to know what you think about it. So follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to join the conversation and the fun. And until we meet again, may your days be merry and bright.